This podcast is brought to you by AudioHook, the leading independent audio DSP. AudioHook has direct publisher integrations into all major podcast and streaming radio platforms, providing 40% more inventory than what could be accessed in omnichannel DSPs. What's more, AudioBook has full transcripts on more than 90% of all podcast inventory, enabling advanced contextual targeting and brand suitability. AudioHook is so confident that in addition to CPM buys, they offer the industry's only pay-for-performance option where brands can scale audio and podcasting with peace of mind knowing they are only paying for outcomes. Visit audiohook.com to learn more. That's audiohook.com. This week, we have How to Be a Power Collaborator. It's a conversation from the Marketecture Live conference between Lauren Wetzel, who's the CEO of InfoSum before it was acquired by GroupM, and JiYoung Kim, the COO of GroupM North America. So maybe they had some private conversations about getting together after they talked on stage. Should be an interesting conversation. I hope you enjoy it.
G.
Yes, ma'am.
Before we get into the meaty questions, not all agencies are created equal. Not all agency roles are created equal. And definitely COO means a lot of different things, whether you're agency, vendor, brand, etc. So can you just give us a little bit of your background and what you specifically do as COO of GroupM North America?
Sure. I like to think of my background as simple as if I saw something that I could help make better or do it in a better way, I would just do it. I wouldn't ask for permission. I wouldn't ask for credit. And that sort of became a career. And I like to think that CEO of GroupM is very similar to that. It's essentially landing and operationalizing a vision, but at the same time, it's a massive group of people involved, and I like to focus on the things that I think I can help with.
Love that answer. The reason I wanted agencies to be a little bit more prominent around the topic of data collaboration. Number one, my first role, which when I was at InfoSum as COO, I felt even though our first clients, our pioneering clients were actually on the sell side, and then by nature of products that they launched using data collaboration tech, it brought a lot of brands. I just always felt in my bones that the agencies play a pivotal role because effectively you're working with those multiple parties. You've got trading agreements with the publishers, you have data provider partners, you have the brands that you service every day. And so for you, just start out as what are some of the key challenges that you as an agency balancing all of that? Because the name of data collaboration means it has to be more than one. And as it comes together, what are some of the challenges for you?
So firstly, I appreciate the love and affection you have for agencies. I know it's not easy, especially for one as big as ours. I think the challenge is very simply put, data as a practice or data as an offering has matured quite a bit. It's evolved a few times. But what we still have to explain when we are servicing clients is how are we going to use it, the application of it, right? What's in it doesn't matter as much as how we expect to be applying it to our client's business. And most important, what do we think it's going to do that is incrementally better than not having a data set or a data strategy?
Like that makes sense. In your background, when I spent some time on it, like performance has always really been something you're passionate about. And when I think about implementing some of these collaborative technologies, such as data clean room, other things, what have been some of the opportunities that you have? It could be into measurement or attribution, because I hear so often, because it's privacy safe, because it's, privacy by default, like it must not be performant. It's got to be difficult. It means that you are protecting it in such a way that you can't get, deterministic results. And that's just not true. And so that balancing act or the notion of a trade-off between privacy and performance isn't true. Like, how do you think about maintaining your mantra of caring about performance for brands in this era of data collaboration?
So that notion that privacy safe means it doesn't perform can't possibly be true. Because if that were true, media running through walled gardens would not perform. And it's actually the opposite, right? It's, if anything, privacy has created or catalyzed completely new commercial models for media platforms. So the way I think about it is less about whether it's privacy safe or not, but how rich are the signals in the data and how agile is it? So a great example is when you're thinking about ID-based data sets, what it does is it captures a moment in time. So for example, my values or for example, whether I'm a parent or kind of my ethnic background, these are things that don't change that much and are a very accurate description of who I am. However, when I say the word in market, right, it's a very well understood variable, right? What window of time do you think is acceptable to be in market? And that's what I care about most. Right?
On the topic of privacy, what for you as an agency, obviously I think this entire industry has just gotten, they kind of fell down before we got up around privacy. Like again, cookies are stale was a joke that I made on Twitter or X or whatever we're calling it earlier. Because it's such a hype topic around we ever have been using cookies in the first place to track and to drive data-driven advertising. And so knowing that the industry has faltered a bit and knowing how important compliance is to brands, I mean, I see CMOs in particular driving this notion of we don't want to hand over our data, our consumer data, that relationship, that trust that we've built, is more important than ever, and it takes a really long time to build trust, and it takes 2 seconds of sending it out, centralizing it, leaving it into the hands of someone you don't trust, to lose that relationship and that trust that's been built. So what do you at GroupM think about in terms of compliance and sort of being on the right side of history as it relates to this privacy first but performant era?
That was a lot. I'm going to try to answer that as simply as I can. So first and foremost, GroupM, we have our data assets, but we just don't believe that, back to my previous point, this idea of an ID associated with lots of different attributes sourced from umpteen different partners are the way to go. There's a couple of reasons for that, but the main one being what I was saying before. The types of signals that CMOs and marketers are looking for are very much in the now. So are they, for the best example is this audience a current customer of mine, or are they a prospect and somebody that I can grow market share through, right? That is a very time-sensitive criteria, right? And what we are moving towards is moving to models that are much closer to the definitions that a brand cares about. The issue with kind of our old enthusiasm, and by the way, I'm not discouraging imagination and ingenuity. To be totally honest, some of the naughtiest things we've ever done, and I came from a mobile background, so I know, some of the naughtiest things we've ever done came out of problem solving and ingenuity, right? That's not the bad part. The bad part is when you take that and you use it, when you kind of for example, acquire or use data in ways that it was never intended or has no value, right? There are many instances where marketers will get really excited about data sets but not understand how they're going to apply it beyond insights and profiling. So in our world, it's really about two things. Models that take into account the most recent set of signals being different from data, and the ability to apply it at at scale, right? So wall gardens, non-wall gardens, offline, digital, biddable, everywhere. So that's generally.
And based off of that, are there any client examples, like what has been successful for you with this, one, the approach with leaning on models, with, to your point, the approach not just being tied to one particular identity, but more looking at signals and things coming together? What are some case studies, success stories?
Yeah. So without naming specific brands, we are lucky enough to have a lot of CPGs as clients, and CPGs I would say fall into two types of categories or relationship with consumers. One is products where there's no cap, right? Like consumption can reign supreme, right? So, for example, chocolates might fall under that category. So using data sets to understand consumption patterns and consumption potential by just kind of nurturing loyalty within current buyers versus trying to gain market share from switchers, very important. Trying to understand the size of heavy consumers of a category that are movable, that are promiscuous, very important. So that's kind of an area where we're using a lot of different data sets that we would not have been able to access before, such as commerce data sets as well as purchase attributes to kind of refine our targeting.
I didn't realize you were going to use CPG, but it's always my greatest example because, again, because you're not saying a client, Crowdsource Spring Water. You haven't gone to crowdsourcespringwater.com anytime soon, nor do you have an app that you're building that direct relationship. And oftentimes CPGs get put into the category of, people ask me, you don't talk to CPGs ever because they're so data poor. And it's actually, I talk to CPGs all the time because with technology like this, with multi-party collaboration, to what you just said, which is commerce data sets, loyalty data sets, there's just so much that they can learn about their client to drive more effective media buying, which I think is important.
And I think you just brought up something or kind of sparked something in my brain. So the little secret is, we have moved to using cohorts and signals to understand the opportunity. And kind of there's a perception that that's less precise than ID-based targeting. However, practitioners know, how do you guys use IDs? It's a seed. Right? So you take a few of them and then you use them as a seed to extrapolate out to the universe. So whether you're going small to bigger through proxies or start big and go down to cohorts, try to imagine, we think we're a little biased, we think our method is better, but that's kind of something that I think we don't talk about very often.
Yeah, get louder. Mm-hmm. That's a strategy I can apply. Specifically, to take a step back or away from just data collaboration, what are some of the other emerging trends? Checking the bingo box for AI, for example.
It happened.
Never happened. What are some of the other innovations, and it could be related to data collaboration, but things that you're excited about that, to your point of constantly looking at performance and the evolution of performance throughout your career, as there's always going to be new value you can unlock for clients, and that could be, evolving over time with new technologies. What's exciting to you?
So when we look at AI, and I think we're just starting, there's a couple of things that have already happened. So we've had DCO forever, right? The idea to personalize and to build relevance through messaging. But the amount of work involved in doing that and to test and learn into the right combination between the audience, the platform, the targeting, and then the creative, it has been, almost cost prohibitive. AI allows us to go the other way and detect kind of the end-to-end combination that seems to generate the best results. However that's defined. That's one. The second one is because AI inherently enjoys having a lot of data, right, which we have in today's world, it's starting to make it easier for us to predict forward, right? So, and that's kind of the most common use case right now. Like by looking at historic data, if we were to change a parameter in a product or a campaign or a budget, what would happen? That to me, how quickly that's possible is incredibly exciting.
And we technically got through all of the questions that we had talked about, so I'm going to throw two at you, and I apologize to any GroupM comms people out there. This whole conference is about chaos, so in the industry today, like, what do you think is the kind of key intersection of chaos? Like, what are your clients grappling with the most, or even internally across the agency? Like, what's causing the most chaos for you?
I don't know if anything's creating chaos, but I do believe that in our industry, we are seeing kind of the leveling of our playing field. You mentioned AI, but...
That's an info some value, by the way, level the playing field.
I love that.
Yeah, we've never talked about that before.
Yeah. That was not a plug, yeah. So a lot of the sacred cows that we held near and dear are kind of going away, right? So the idea of certain metrics needing, for example, media metrics needing to get closer to business outcomes, that's also happening. So in a way, we're seeing a bit of a need to reevaluate the business we're all in. I don't think that's a bad thing, right?
No, I don't. And I think to the earlier point of thinking of agencies as an enabler of collaboration, like not just thinking of an agency, whether they have a data asset or not, by the way, as, okay, it's just always got to be direct. Data collaboration is about the ability for a brand to be direct. I think a lot of times the brands need some guidance. They need to understand and learn and be educated on new terminologies, whether that's some of the models that are coming out or whether that's things like data clean rooms, which is a term that gets thrown around in a lot of different definitions, which today's session is not on that. If we are here on stage next year, because I think this conference is going to be a massive success, so congrats to the team involved, what are we going to be talking about?
We're going to be talking about innovation in application of all these technologies. I appreciate kind of the kindness. I believe agencies like GroupM need innovators like InfoSum, like all of you in this room. We are not in the business of actually creating assets. That's not something we're good at. What we are phenomenal at is taking all of the things available in the market and applying it in interesting ways. So hopefully that's what we're going to be talking about, and you're going to have more innovative toys for me to apply.
Oh, the toys are coming. Thank you so much, Ji.
Thank you, Lord.
Thank you for listening to the Marketecture Podcast. New episodes come out every Friday, and an insightful vendor interview is published each Monday. You can subscribe to our library of hundreds of executive interviews at marketecture.tv. You can also sign up for free for our weekly newsletter with my original strategic insights on the week's news at news.marketecture.tv. And if you're feeling social, we operate a vibrant Slack community that you can apply to join at adtechgod.com.